Good evening, everyone.
Unfortunately, it's not as like taboo.
Board meeting. Bill rise for the session.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any absent? Take attendance.
Steve Lee. Attendance, President McDonough,
Here.
President Ronaldo here, Secretary Summers absent, Treasurer Whitney. Here. Trustee Gibson. Here. Trustee Atchison.
Here.
Trustee Capjorni. Absent.
Great. Any changes to the board agenda? I have none. Are we gonna do that email? Scheduled public comment, we have none this evening. Our consent agenda, anybody would like to make that motion? I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Support? Mike Whitney, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, our superintendent report, starting with Dr. Milligan.
All right, good evening, everyone. Well, I'll be, oh, look at that, it just came right up. It's very exciting. All right, so while we're getting that set up, I always begin with grounding us in our strategic plan with our vision, empowering learners, building community, and inspiring futures. Our mission, providing a safe, supportive, and opportunity-rich educational experience that fosters belonging, builds self-empowerment, and prepares learners to contribute to a connected community. And our core values, empowerment, belonging, innovation, and integrity. And with that, I will share some highlights. So the highlights today that I'll be sharing, talk about some millage presentations. We have some follow-up to Anita Conja-Collins' presentation regarding summer school. We said we're going to bring back some data, so I'm going to share a little bit of that. Some school highlights, and then we have additional updates, including superintendent goals, audit presentation, the OMS update, and safety update. So we'll start with the millage presentations. I want to thank Waterstone HOA. John Fitzgerald was able to present information to their HOA, so I greatly appreciate them opening their doors. Thank you, Shane, for helping facilitate that connection. Appreciate it. We were also able to present to Oxford Village Council. John and Mike and myself were able to present, so I appreciate the council welcoming us and listening. And then just last week, we were able to present to individuals at the Seymour Lake Senior Center, and they had some amazing questions. They had done their homework, and John Fitzgerald looked like a kid in a candy store answering those questions. So I appreciate their efforts in welcoming us. All right, so this is a follow-up to Anita's presentation. Remember that the goal of summer school was to help students keep their current skills fresh. I think most of us are aware of the summer slide. When students are not in school, they tend to regress in their skills. And so the goal here was to maintain those skills in both math and reading. And as you can see, it's almost the same from the end of the school year and then at the beginning of the school year after their summer experience. There's a little changes, in between, but for the most part, it's kept the same. So I'm very excited for all of the work that our staff did. If you ever have a chance to visit summer school, it's not like the old school summer school where, it's a sit and get. It's really very fun. I know that sounds crazy to equate fun with summer school, but they have a lot of fun. They do a lot of social emotional learning, socializing. They make the learning fun. I was able to go to several classes, and it was really neat. It's very energizing. So congratulations to everyone involved in summer school. It was very exciting to see that data. One friend. There it goes. All right, and I know we're all excited about this. This is our favorite tradition from the LOFT program, the Apple Pie Fundraiser. So this is pretty exciting. So our LOFT program, which is Learning Opportunities for Transition, it empowers young adults with disabilities to build life and work skills through hands-on experiences. So this Apple Pie Fundraiser, this has students picking and peeling apples, preparing ingredients and assembling pies to freeze for staff holiday dinners. Along the way, they practice teamwork, time management, food safety, and real-world collaboration. And beyond the delicious results, the LOFT Apple Pie Fundraiser brings Oxford School's vision to life, empowering learners to take pride in their abilities, building community through teamwork and service, and inspiring futures where every student can see their impact on others. So I'm getting several pies, just saying. All right, Clear Lake has some pretty exciting things. They did their walk to school day. I don't know if you recall, on October 8th, it was very chilly that day. So all those kiddos, they had over 85 people with students and parents turn out. Once they got to the school, they enjoyed breakfast together in the pavilion, and it was provided by our fabulous Oxford Food Services. And then Miss Nemi, I do love her outfit. So this was their reward for reaching $5,000 in Fund Run whole school mileage goal. The students helped pick out Miss Nemi's outfit, and doesn't she look amazing? So that was Dress Miss Nemi's Day 2025. So each grade had a category of items to vote on, and here were the results. The 5th grade did the paw print face tattoo. The 4th grade gave the Taylor Swift Sparkle Freckles face tattoo. 3rd grade dressed her with the tutu. 2nd grade gave her the Lilo and Stitch shirt. And the 1st grade was that amazing wig. I think it's a good look for her. And of course, the kindergarten chose the cowboy boots. So a very clever way to incentivize our kiddos. On the right-hand side, that's our Clear Lake Kindergarten Fire Station Career Focus Education Field Trip, where they visited Oxford Fire Station 1 to see where firemen and women work. They got to use some of their equipment and listen to a story to learn how to be safe during a fire emergency. Lakeville also had their walk to school day. They had approximately 100 students participate, again on the same day, so very chilly, so great job, kiddos. And then on the right-hand side, you can see their 42-strong junior kickoff assembly, which is their all-school peer mentoring program. Very exciting. Our middle school, this is our OMS newspaper and Your Book students. They traveled to Lansing for a statewide journalism conference, and this was sponsored by MIPA. So we have a very robust journalism program at our middle school. We also, on the left-hand side, the OMS Student Council and then Superintendent Student Ambassadors, they attended a Michigan Student Leadership Conference that was in Frankenmuth. So that's a fun place to be. I've yet to be there, but I'm hoping this season, maybe. And then on the right-hand side, if you look closely, you can see our students in the window. So they are part of the display. So those are our OMS drama students. They participated at the Rochester Posed event. This event is an annual downtown Rochester, Michigan event where local businesses transform their storefront windows into live mannequin displays. So our kids were mannequins. That's kind of fun. Attendees can stroll down to view the displays, often have a theme, and vote for their favorite display, typically through a text-to-vote system. Our transportation department practiced their safety evacuations. And this is important because it teaches life-saving skills that reduce panic and promote a faster, more organized exit in emergencies like accidents or fires. Drills familiarize students and drivers with emergency exits, help them follow instructions, and instill confidence, which is crucial for a swift and safe evacuation. Congratulations to our senior Katie Pill. She shot a 76.82, and for you golfers, I hope you know what that means, because I have no idea what that means. I guess it's good because she finished 7th in the state at the state finals tournament. That was held at the Meadows of Grand Valley. She is the only Oxford girl golfer to make 3 trips to the state finals. She was a key part of the record-setting 2023 team. She's been named All-League 4 years and All-County 3 years. Last year, she received All-State Honorable Mention recognition. Her success was earned in practice, and we are so proud of Katie. Also, congratulations goes to our Oxford girls volleyball team. They finished the 2025 league season as OAA White League champions. The team finished a perfect 8-0 in league matches and finished undefeated in all individual match sets, winning all 24 sets in league play. Congratulations and great job, girls, on your league championship. All right, some additional updates. I'm going to share a high-level overview of the superintendent goals and some artifacts that I'll be collecting along the way for the goals. And then we have an audit presentation by Jacob Sopchinski. Yes, got it. It was the visual.
Yeah.
That was very helpful. Thank you. And then John's going to come up and talk about the OMS update in terms of the flood and the cleanup of that. And then finally, Allison will come up with a safety update. So I will start with the goals. So I have 3 goals for this year. They're not going to be surprising to anyone. I don't think I have it. Is it uploaded on there? You guys have it in there? Okay. So I just don't have a slide. That's okay. There is a slide. Were you able to pull that up? Oh, yay, look at that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so my first goal has to do with, no surprise, the strategic plan. So the goal states by June 2026, implement protocols for the district strategic plan, including communication with stakeholders, timelines for each goal, quarterly board reports, and define metrics. Success will be measured by at least 5 pieces of evidence from year 1 implementation. Artifacts will include socializing activities such as the event that we had with our ad team where they matched the goals with the aligned actions, as well as quarterly goal update presentations to the board, our data dashboard, as well as website resources for community. The second goal, by June 2026, establish a professional growth system that empowers current and future leaders and builds robust, sustainable systems for ongoing leadership development. Success will be measured by at least 5 pieces of evidence from year 1 implementation. And artifacts to be collected include agendas from ad team professional development, instructional rounds, documentation, and monthly principal meeting agendas. And finally, goal 3, by June 2026, begin implementation of a master facility management plan, including funding options, resource distribution, and completion timelines aligned with strategic goal 4 as presented to the Board of Education. Success will be determined by a projected written plan and evidence of year 1 implementation. So currently we have the master facility plan spreadsheet that we've made public and have presented, as well as the overview. And also once we start working on those projects, we'll have a completion dashboard. When we pass the sinking fund, that will be important for transparency for the community to see how those dollars are being spent and how those projects are being accomplished. So currently those are my 3 goals and intended artifacts. So I welcome any feedback.
comments, questions?
I guess just a comment. I appreciate these. I appreciate continuing to set goals out. I know we've seen that in the strategic plan, but really how they're put into place in 6 months out, or well, I guess 8 months out. But that's a nice cadence, and so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
But, and I appreciate the goals. I think those are good points to focus on right now.
Thank you. I would agree. I think that this is all tied very nicely into our new strategic plan and all helps to promote student success and staff and student well-being. And I agree that I think that these goals are very important in where we are at with the strategic plan. So thank you for the time invested.
You're welcome. All right, appreciate that. And I would like to welcome Jacob up for our audit presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jacob. We have a mic right up there. If you go to the, actually, the gentleman in the.
Perfect.
Whatever you're comfortable
Thank you very much for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Jacob Sobczynski, and I'm the auditor and the principal. In charge of presenting tonight and bringing this audit in front of the board. The audit results are all on one page, and this is the opinion on the front of the financial statements, and it says, in our opinion, the financial statements as they're presented are free from material misstatement. That's my job, is to give you that opinion. So congratulations, you passed. Well done. I'll applaud that. To get to that answer takes a lot of work. And these are some of those things we do. Understand the internal controls is incredibly important. We dive into those controls, make sure that they are reflective of the operations and the practices they have in place in management and finance. We make sure that those procedures are appropriate. We go through journal entry testing. We look at receipts from all different areas of the district. We review disbursements, making sure funds are spent appropriately. We review state compliance, review per pupil membership, your FTEs. We look through the budget, make sure that budgeting is happening and is accurate. We look at payroll distribution. Payroll makes up a big chunk of how we spend our dollars. We spend a lot of time with that. Make sure bid processes are done correctly and appropriately. Review cash, petty cash, and then we look at governance policies, procedures. We reviewed your board minutes to make sure that what you agreed to here, management is executing on their side. And then we look at federal programs. This year we chose the nutrition cluster as well as special education. And those two programs, we do a deep dive into making sure those programs are being executed correctly. So as a result of that as well, we issue a report, and in that report we identified a material weakness. Material weaknesses are things that could be material in nature if they were left to their own devices. I'm proud to say that Courtney took that into account, and as of today, that material weakness has been corrected. But it will be reported timely preparations of bank reconciliations. Again, it's just important. Bank reconciliations are done on a timely manner, and that's already taken care of. So thank you for taking that to heart. No deficiencies, no question cost, and no management comments. So pretty clean audit. One issue we have this year, the federal government hasn't issued a compliance supplement. So those federal programs we tested, we can't issue that federal compliance audit yet. As soon as that's issued by the federal government, we'll make sure the report's issued timely from that. State of Michigan's aware of that. They're not looking for those reports at this time, but they will in the future when that's ready. The financial statement audit will be issued timely. In fact, I think we'll have finals here today. All the letters are signed, everything's ready to go. We were kind of waiting for the state or the federal government to issue that compliance supplement. We realize that's probably not gonna come before the due date. So we'll be in compliance with MDE. The fun stuff, we'll look at the numbers. The general fund is where we account for most of our operations on a general day-to-day basis. In there, at the end of June, remember we're going back in time to June, we had 12 million of cash and $21 million of receivables. Receivables generally make up that July and August state aid that we're waiting to collect after year end. Some of that 34 million of total assets in the general fund is spoken for. That's our accounts payable, bills we have to pay, as well as teacher salaries for July and August, the runoff of those contracts. So in total, we had about 16.9 million of liabilities. And then the fund balance, the net of those two numbers is our fund balance. We had about 17.4 million of fund balance in the general fund. The other column is all the other funds. That's all the debt funds, the capital project fund, food service, and some other ancillary funds we also maintain at the district. It's really small on that screen, I apologize, but the general fund balance, measure the health of a district. One way to do that is to look at fund balance as a percent of revenues, as well as a percent of expenditures. So at year end, you're about 17% of expenditures. That's up a little bit from last year at 16.1. Total fund balance, there's that 12.1 million in the general fund. The general fund had 17.4 million. That money is spoken for in some way or another as non-spendable items, assigned for education solutions, assigned for future healthcare costs, and assigned for debt obligations. The revenue for the general fund accounted to almost $104 million, and expenses were right on it as well as 104. Net change in the general fund was $270,000, which brought our fund balance up from 17.2 to 17.4. Again, that all other funds, all that money is spoken for. Those are related to other obligations, debt funds, capital projects. Those have to be spent in a certain way. One of those things we look at is the budget. How accurate are we budgeting, and are we executing your plan, your approved budget accordingly? So general fund revenues, our final budget was about 105 million. Like I said, we're at 104.4. So pretty accurate budgeting on the revenue. Same thing with expenses. We budgeted 104.9, spent 104.1. So final budget, we expected to have a surplus of 121, and we were at 270. That's pretty darn close in my book. I'll take that. I think it's incredibly important to understand where we get our funding from in a district in Michigan. Remember, it's FTEs, number of students we have, times the foundation allowance. Just a couple of weeks ago, the state finally issued and agreed to that foundation allowance, so now we know what we're going to get for funding from a school year we've already started and hired teachers for. But we're dependent on them. We take the local and the state funds, that's about 90% comes from the state of Michigan, from that foundation proposal A, right? So dependent on the state of Michigan for our financing for sure. On the flip side, where we spend those dollars, instruction, those are direct costs to those students, right? Teachers in the classrooms accounted for about 50, apparently I need new glasses, 59%. And then supporting services is everything else, really. All the supports we have, that could be teacher aides, that could be support services, that's administration, accounted for about 39%. And those are about the ratios we see from other districts too. Historical revenues and expenses, right? The blue represents revenues and other financing sources, and the expenditures are in green. Looking year over year where we have surpluses and where we have deficits, just for some comparative. In that proposal A, how we get our 90% of our funding is our enrollment. Enrollment has been up on the upward trend for the last 10 years. It's amazing to see that in the state of Michigan. So Oxford, you're doing it right. The other half of that measurement is that state aid allowance. And again, this year for 2025, they've approved up to $10,050 for every student we have. One of the biggest costs that we have is teachers. It usually accounts for about 80%. People account for 80% of our expenses or more. A big part of that is that MIPSERS. That's that retirement pension plan we have for our educators and our administration. The total cost of that is 42 cents on every dollar. Goes to pay MIPSERS. It is subsidized by the state of Michigan through the 147 grant, so that brings that out of pocket down to 31%. But still, every dollar of payroll, 31 cents has to go to pay pension costs. So a huge cost to the state of Michigan and our schools. All right, that was a really quick overview. But I just want to say, Courtney, fantastic job this year. Thank you so much for being prepared and ready for us. It makes our job a whole lot easier. Your whole team, well done. Speech.
Jacob, I have a question. So we've talked about it on the finance committee, but in your opinion, as far as the general fund balance
Yeah.
compared to the expenditures, what are you seeing as a healthy, and how do we compare to others in your opinion as well?
Yeah, again, every district is different. Their needs are different, what they're doing is different. My rule of thumb is, do we have enough money to get us through the September no state aid, where we don't have to borrow? That's usually a good measurement, and that number is north of 10%. 20% is good. 25%, it's what do you need to sit on that cash for? And again, that's my opinion. But generally, rule of thumb, you don't want to fall below 7. The state's going to give you an early warning. At 5%, you're going to have to do a deficit elimination plan. So absolutely avoid 7%. That's the base, right? Everything up from there is good up until where you want to be. And what the plan for the district is. I mean, that goes into what you're doing strategic plan wise too.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay. Well, thank you
Fantastic.
very much. And
Thank you very much.
again, Finance Department, great job.
Nice job.
All right, John Fitzgerald, please tell us about the middle school. I know.
Thanks, John. Good evening. There's been some recent concerns, in our district around mold. For that matter, there's actually been some of that started back in September when Rochester Schools had an issue at one of their elementaries, which kind of perked up pretty much everybody in our region and our ISD from double checking and double looking. So back in September, we did run some air testing. We brought in Nova Environmental to do indoor air quality testing, particularly at the middle school. There was sampling of the entire building. We've got that report. That's out and posted on our website. The air quality test there turned out quite well. The actual mold counts within the building are lower than the exterior, which is pretty much the benchmark, and there's a lot of data and scientific perspective tied to each report. Subsequent to that time frame on October 8th, we had a hot water line burst in one of the rooms at the middle school. I believe it was 109. So down in that area, 109, 10, 11, that section of the building, we had a bit of a flood. As far as floods go, if you're going to have one, better to have a clean water, hot water line versus say a sewer related one or some other dirty water kind of thing. That's a whole different level of cleanup. So from a cleanup process, we did execute, of course, the water extraction and the drying process, which involved cleaning the floors and the carpeting. Removed baseboard molding and drilling holes in a lot of the baseboard to create an air process. Installed and had machinery in the building for a few days. There was air movement machinery and dehumidifying machinery. And then once that was done, the firm we're using, I always refer to them Jarvis. Their name's changed a couple times. I believe it's the MS Cat now. But they treated the area with EPA registered mold inhibitor. And as a follow-up, we were bringing back the Nova Environmental to do another air quality test on October 30th, just to confirm that everything is good. So the test they did subsequent to the 8th, after all the cleanup was done, a couple, 3 days later, we brought back Nova, did some more air testing, that all came back good. Excuse me, same situation where they particularly focusing on the mold. The spore count, which is the measure that's most cited within the building, is lower than the exterior, so that's always good. So and again, we're gonna bring them back in the 30th to do a close the loop kind of test again. And then not too far down the road, particularly in some of our older buildings, and particularly we see a lot of this at the middle school, because of the nature of the piping and the age of the building, you'll see damaged tiles from water condensation That happens a lot in the warmer months, chiller pipes running and the water condensates. So there'll be a process of tile changing too, to clean that up and get it back up to speed. That will be an ongoing process until we actually get in a position to do some serious forward repair and replacement for the piping in the building. Any questions on that?
Were all buildings tested in September or just the middle school?
The middle school was statistically tested all about. We did do a couple other buildings and a couple of site rooms. I believe Clear Lake and Lakeville had some room-specific work. That may have actually been before September, I'm thinking about it. But really the focus had been on the middle school because of some specific personnel concerns that brought it to our attention. So in terms of relieving people's anxieties as well as confirming that we're in good shape there, so to speak, when it comes to that issue, particularly with everything that was going on with Delta Kelly and Rochester.
Right, yeah, I think a lot of parents were concerned after hearing that. What's the typical cost for doing this? Would it be really cost prohibitive to just have it done at every building?
No, it wouldn't. We'll probably, it's probably a good idea to cross-check all the buildings, and I don't want to speak out of turn. Excuse me, Mr. Plant may already have a regular scheduled plan in place, but I'll loop back, close the loop with him to find out where we're going with that kind of a cycle. Typically mold-specific air testing, I don't know if that's on an annual cycle, but general testing goes on year-round anyway.
Okay,
But I'll
excellent.
follow up with him and get a clear position on it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, appreciate the information.
Thank you.
All right, and Dr. Williman with our safety update.
All right, so we are continuing on with our one
Do you
pager.
want the clicker?
Thank you.
There you go.
So we're going to switch over to safety management tonight. Dr. Christine Russell will be here at our next meeting to finish off the middle column for us. So we're going to venture into some of our Raptor products today. So the first one is Raptor Visitor Management. We were using Schoolgate Guardian, but as we've seen in our strategic plan, as we go through any contracts and as it's time for them to be renewed or refreshed, we evaluate all of our products that we have to determine whether or not we still need them, if there's something else that can better suit us. And so we switched over to Raptor Visitor Management. At the time that we adopted Raptor Visitor Management, they, like every other visitor management company, hadn't complied with the Real ID. They weren't able to scan those, so those were all having to be entered. But now we have scanners that can do that. They've been able to catch up with the Real ID, so no longer do our secretaries have to manually enter in IDs. So it's nice when things catch up that way. This does search all 50 states for sex offenders. There are alerts that if those go out, there are certain people on each campus as well as at district level who receive those alerts. They're push notifications as well as alerts to our email. And that way it's in not just one person receiving that alert. It really is our security staff as well. That's part of that. And then the next one is Raptor Emergency Management. We talked at length at the beginning of the school year about this. This includes our Raptor Alert, and it aligns with the standard response protocol. So it is in alignment with the standardized terminology that the state has, the law that it goes in place the 25-26 school year. We have been using the standard response protocol already, but adapting that within our emergency management and using that with our staff district-wide ensures that everyone is speaking the same language. We've also worked with Oakland County Dispatch, Oakland County Sheriff's Office, the Oxford Fire Department, Addison Township Substation, just to ensure that we're all on the same page. We are working through this. It's that go slow to go fast idea. So when we drill right now, we are using a variety of methods so that it's the mass notification system and Raptor Alert, or just the mass notification system, because in an emergency situation, we do not want anyone to endanger themselves. We want them to use the safest way possible to alert that there is an emergency situation, whether it be a hold, secure, evacuate, shelter, or lockdown. And then within that emergency management, we'll also be working on accounting for our students that way. The middle school has started running their drills that way. And it's a learning process. It's nice that the middle school is willing to be our guinea pig on all of this, because then we're able to take that information to our district reunification team in the event that we ever have to reunify at an off-site location, that we can account for students that way and not rely on paper, unless of course technology is not being our friend and we have the paper available. So we're trying to make sure that there's an ease within the process should we have to do any sort of reunification. And then the last piece for Raptor is Raptor Student Safe. This is what houses all of our documentation for threat assessment, suicide risk assessment, and bullying and harassment investigations. And it is kind of that one-stop shop for our investigations. It is considered part of the student's educational record. And so it is something that partially would be logged in PowerSchool to note that, but the actual investigations would be housed in Student Safe. When a concern is submitted, there's a button that is clicked at the bottom and it alerts the entire team, which includes myself and my safety and security specialist. And so, for example, at the high school, if someone submits a concern, there's about 28 people that are notified at one time. And that's an automatic piece to it. And then we are able to use that to look at if there's been multiple screeners or assessments, whether it be threat assessment or suicide risk assessment, and really develop that strong case management plan, safety plan, whatever the needs are. And to highlight the middle school on that, we did have a student last year that had multiple threat and suicide risk assessments, low level, but concerning just overall mental health needs, and that was the biggest piece for them. And so being able to be there, but then also be on another campus when things would come through and look at it holistically, look at the long term, we were able to address a safety plan, more of a care management plan than safety plan, to really address the needs of the student, who right now that student has been very successful. And so just that's one example. I could probably go every single principal that's here tonight and talk about a case that they've had, where being able to have that one-stop shop and have everyone that's appropriate to the team be able to help and give their input on it has really helped us. Additionally, being able to personalize our documentation, because as we've discussed, our screeners have an enhancement to them. Things like what was done instead of a full assessment wasn't run, how was it handled? Being able to check for access to lethal weapons of parents and students in our screeners, including our checklist. This year we have added our re-entry meetings into Raptor so that it's not a paper-based thing anymore. And again, it's for that ease of access so that everyone is able to see how can we best support those students. And so that is our safety management pieces. And one more thing for this week, it is Safe Schools Week. So we just wanted to highlight a few things that Christy's department has been helping me be able to get out on the internet. So we talked about our safety, our security team and our SROs yesterday, and you can see Detective Barnes, Detective Rafalski, and Mr. Rourke on here. Our security team, including Fortis, is just such a great addition and positive, responsible adults that our kids look to for those relationships. Our cardiac teams, we are across the district Michigan Heart Smart certified. As I had shared, our certificates have started coming in. We got 2 today, so it's pretty exciting. Our cardiac response teams drill, and it is really nice when I get emails from Kevin Snell and he talks about how great the team was and their hustle. That's what pretty much everybody gets. And so it is very much a practice like you play approach. And I appreciate that, because we hope to never have to do it. But if we do, our teams are ready and they're evaluated every year. It is not required for our teams to go through a full-on AED drill every year. It is only required on the years that we are seeking the Michigan Heart Smart certification. But again, practice like you play. So that is one of the drills that we require, is for them to go through the full-scale drill. And then this is also School Bus Safety Week, so you'll see some information about that. And then highlighting the fact that we have fully trained threat assessment and suicide risk assessment campus level teams as well as a district team. And that again is not required by law until next year, but we have had those in place since the 22-23 school year. And then the last thing is highlighting the standard response protocol and the standard reunification method. Our district level team has done great jobs of going around to each of our reunification locations, walking through, working with our community partners that are part of that, mapping that out. And then even on Thursday, we're going to do some tabletop exercises that our district reunification lead created. And it's very exciting to see that next step as we get further along with any of the things that we're doing. And so I just wanted to highlight some of the things that you'll see this week for Safe Schools Week. Any questions?
I have one. You mentioned the visitor management system is synced with the National Sex Registry, and then it alerts. So does it alert if someone's applying for like an iChat that's on that list, or does it does it retroactively, like if somebody's added to the list, does it go back and look through our system?
So the iChat is separate
Well,
from that, so it would just be anytime. So if you go and you have your ID scanned and then you go the next time and your ID's on file and you say,
Right.
I'm Allison Willamette, it will rescan you. Is that what you
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will every time that you go through, because you do have to check in, like your ID, my ID may be scanned, but
Okay.
they're still gonna have to pull up Allison Willamette every time I go to that school.
That's when it does it. So
Yes.
it's checking it right at that single scan, only when they're visiting,
Yes.
only when they're there. Okay.
Yes, but if there is some, if they're volunteering or anything like that, that's completed with Human Resources, which is a separate program.
Okay.
But they still have to check
They
in.
still have to check in.
as a visitor.
So when they check in, it hits it. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. I'm on it. Okay. That was the only question.
Yeah, I just have one question. For the basic life-saving and AED training, do we offer that at all for our students?
Yes, it is built in, it's required. I do not, Brad may be able to answer exactly when that's done, or I can get back to you if he does not know. But yes, that is something that's offered at the high school level.
Okay, just the high school level.
Right now, yes.
Okay. Any plans to expand that?
We will comply with what the requirements of the state are. So currently, high school is what is required, so that's what we offer.
Okay.
I just want to thank you for continuing to use this list that is readily available on the district website, and to just how you're going through it so organized, and it's very easy to follow and understand, and I just appreciate you breaking down each section. I can go back through my notes if I'm looking. I just really appreciate how you've gone through this document that is so accessible that we can always refer back to, and it's just very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. It was not done alone by any means, so I appreciate everyone being able to contribute to this document as well.
Anyone else? I just had a quick question, and this is not my forte, I'm not the IT guru, but with what happened yesterday and the outage, does that affect our systems like Raptor when things like that happen? I know a ton of sites were out, and it had to do with the cloud going down, and
It did not affect the visitor management yesterday,
Uh-huh.
but I do know there was like a little glitch with any of the paperwork we did. Like if you clicked a button on a threat assessment, it didn't open up a right document, but that doesn't prevent the process from happening. So
Right,
it was
so
kind of
paper
like a
copies
touch
of-
and go, right? So we do have paper copies available that doesn't, and we have a very extensive checklist. So in the event of something like that, we didn't see anything with visitor management, but we also know it may have been visitor management. May have been okay yesterday, but that doesn't mean in the past or in the future. Sorry, we can't go back in time. In the future, something couldn't happen. So we would just have to address that as we came to it.
okay, just curious about that. Thank you, appreciate it.
That's it for me.
All right, superintendent report, all done. Moving into our Board of Education matters, we have our field trip approvals. Would anybody like to make that motion? Mike, thank you.
Move to approve the OMS Cedar Point, OHS HOSA States, and OHS HOSA International's field trip as presented.
Support? Shane, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item B, we had our 3 policies on first reading at our last meeting. Would anybody like to move forward with that motion? Thanks, Mike.
Move to approve policies 4221, 5104.01, 5401.01 as presented.
Support. Mike Whitney, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the job description amendment. Anybody like to make that motion?
Sure.
Thanks, Mike.
Move to approve the amended 25-26 Board of Education meeting schedule.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
You
Move
skipped
to
one.
approve the LCA job description as presented. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Support. Shane, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Want to keep going?
I guess I read it already, so let's do it again. Move to approve the amended 2025-2026 Board of Education meeting schedule as presented.
Support? Shane, thank you. Discussion? This, by the way, if you hadn't had a chance to look in board book, that was a recent addition. Because our next meeting, November 4th, that was scheduled to be at Leonard, because it's voting day and there's really a lot going on in the district, we decided that we will move that until to the second meeting in November. So we would like to keep the first November meeting here, and then the second November meeting we'll move out to Leonard, and that would be a good opportunity to also have our community discussion portion beforehand. So the time would change because we would have that 30 minutes before, and Justin will of course update all of our calendar invites so you have time and locations correct. Mike?
Right, and so the November 18th meeting still says Oxford Elementary School, Leonard presents.
Because we haven't
Oh,
approved it yet. We have to approve it tonight, and then he will go ahead and adjust the schedule.
okay.
So the 4th would be here
Mm-hmm.
rather than at Leonard, and then the 18th would be at Leonard.
Well, we changed the description 4th already, correct? Here? Am I missing?
Item 9 still shows it Leonard on the 4th, and OES on the 18th, it still shows it until we approve the change.
I think I missed that.
It's on the bottom of page 3. It's a schedule activities that shows 4th is at Leonard, 18th at OES. We approve that change, then you'll change it.
Right, Justin will go in and change once we approve, and.
Right, but it should be the meeting
What are you
schedule
looking
that
at?
we're looking at right now,
Oh,
that
yeah.
we just asked for approval,
Mhm.
still says so this should be the new one, correct?
It should be, yes.
So, on the 18th, it says Oxford Elementary School, Leonard presents, and it has the
Oh, I see what you're saying.
address to Leonard.
So it just
And so it just needs to be Leonard
So-
Elementary School.
Correct.
And then the next one, December 9th, is that correct that it's at the high school but OMS presents?
It wouldn't be,
Currently, yes.
Okay.
So OMS would be presenting at the high school, because it's an award ceremony and it's best to have it at the high school. We may have to make some adjustments, we're still working on that, but that's what
Okay,
that
but currently-
schedule, currently, correct.
Okay, so all that should be done is November 18th, it should be listed Leonard Elementary School, not, oh yes,
Correct.
right, okay. So, do we need to make any
Adjustments.
adjustments to that?
right,
now?
because it's not presented that way. You are correct.
Yeah.
Justin, are you able to adjust that?
Yep, I'll just upload it right now.
Let me refresh.
Yep. Refresh.
Good catch, Mike.
Okay. Yep, like it never happened.
Okay,
Good looking out.
Okay,
all right.
now, okay.
I'll just go ahead and read it again since now it is presented
Is it
correctly.
presented?
Is it uploaded yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Leonard Elementary
On the
School,
website, just updated, yeah.
Is the time
Fantastic. Does it say 7?
7 PM
on the 18th?
Yep, on the 18th.
And does it say 6:30
On the 4th.
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
So redo D, correct?
Redo. Starting with you.
Redo D. Now that we've updated everything, thank you, Mike. Move to approve the re-amended 2025-2026 Board of Education meeting schedule as presented.
Shane, support. Thank you.
Tried to get it.
And any additional discussion? Excellent. So just again, be prepared that we will have our community chat conversation prior, and that's why we have the later start. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Excellent. Item E, we have our board member travel reimbursement, and we also wanted to have a bit of a discussion, and now is the perfect time because we have Ann and Tanya heading up to Traverse. And so I had emailed everyone just to be prepared with thoughts, how you want to move forward. There are many options. In the past, a couple of us were here for when, for example, Aaron and Mary would do the conference and they would come back and have itemized receipts. I thought that was a really straightforward and transparent way to do it. And then additionally, whether it's MASB or whichever professional development, I think we all agree that professional development is very important, and even more important is coming back and sharing those ideas. We do certain things like OCSBA dinners. You all have access to those presentations afterwards, and that's something, if you'd like, we can also do a verbal recap, or we can call that sufficient that you already get the materials. But for things like classes and conferences, we don't necessarily get the materials back. And I do think that it's financially responsible if we don't all go, but that those who do go come back with the information to share. So saying that, anybody have some opinions on how we move forward? Shane?
Yeah, I think itemized receipts is a no-brainer. I think it's as transparent as you can get. And regarding going off to training and coming back and presenting, I've heard several complaints, read several emails that people were unhappy with a lack of a recap from some of the trainings that we've gone to. I hold myself responsible for a part of that, so I think that is again the least we can do if we're going to spend taxpayer money to go to conventions and professional development. We should come back and present what it is that we've learned and our takeaways. I think that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with the itemized. As far as the trip report is concerned, in, I guess, my world, we call it trip report. So if you go to a conference, you go to an expo where I'm at tonight, like this week in Novi, I would, if the presentations are available for people to access, that's sufficient. I would even propose, depending on the detail that may be needed, we do the takeaways, right? If the details are presented and they're there for anyone to read, what was your most important takeaway? Because the Cliff Notes would probably be more important than reading everything that you did over the course of your entire trip. And I would want to know what are the biggest things that you learned, took away, what can we apply in Oxford, what makes sense for our students. Those would be some of the bigger points than to do a whole trip report. If you wanted to do a trip report based on images or things that weren't presented that aren't available, you could do your own and upload that. But I don't think that that's required. I think itemized receipts makes sense. That's transparent, agree 100%. I would just tailor the report back to the takeaways. What's the most important factors of your trip? That way you're not having to do a whole big presentation that would potentially be redundant if there was already one uploaded from the conference or the expo or whatever the learning education opportunity was. That's my perspective.
Right, I agree. One of the things I think that would be important to include would be the why. What made you want to go to that? You know, when we look at education opportunities, there's a ton of them. We could every month find something to go to if we wanted to. But what is it that drew you to that conference, that seminar, whatever it is? Because I think that's important. It's important to let the public know why we felt it was important we go to Mackinac or Traverse City or, God forbid, someplace in Ohio. So we, sorry, I had to. So I just think that's important. You know, the why I think is super important when it comes to the community and transparency. Sorry, go blue.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If we want to hit maybe the 3 priorities, such as, you know, how does this benefit student success, or how does this help our board develop in a better path, or how does this help meet district needs? Kind of the main takeaways based upon that, and if we can tie in the strategic plan, even better. Tanya might give you a cookie. So, I think we're all on the same page when it comes to that. And so maybe just, we can develop a form that has itemized receipts, key takeaways, and then at the table, whomever went to the class conference, whatever it is, can give an overview. And that way we have it publicly available because it'll be posted within our board book and we can talk about it. Thoughts, opinions?
Yeah, I'm on board with itemized receipts. That's what I did for Mackinac. I used the form that we already had, so whatever is easiest and more streamlined going forward. And then I just wanted to lift up, if you wanted to refer back to Tanya's Monday memo back from that May 6th, where we shared out our highlights from each of our classes that we took in Mackinac. If there's something more in-depth wanted, I'm here for it. Just let me know how much time I have, and if I can have a microphone, then that's great. So if you want slides, if you want them printed, if we're able to share them electronically, I'll check with whatever classes I'm taking. But I love sharing resources. I love the opportunity to share with you guys everything that I've attended, like the back to school legal workshop, and I find all of that fascinating, but I don't want to over extend anyone's interest, especially to eat up our meeting time. So it's whatever you find helpful.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I don't think we need to have PowerPoint presentations personally. That's asking a lot as well. You're going and you're spending a lot of time learning, and you don't need to reinvent the whole presentation. But some key takeaways, absolutely. If it's easily shareable resources, you know, when we go to the OCSBA dinners and they easily share out the PowerPoint, if that were only going to the attendees, that would be a quick forward, but it goes to everybody anyway, so that's easy enough. I don't think any of us are asking you to do 8 hours of homework or anything like that, but just some key takeaways and what you think that would help the board and anyone who hasn't taken that class or taken that, you know, whatever learning it is, just get back and understand, hey, have we thought about this? This could really help us in this area. Key points.
Yeah, like, I mean, like Ann said when she did the MASB training, the legal side of it, right? When she was talking about the change in election, she's like, I have the presentation over here. If anybody wants to see it, talk to me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's
excellent.
I think that kind of key takeaway, high level, you know, key takeaways. If we, to your point, if we want to formalize it with some specific, like, you know, how does this benefit our students? How does this benefit, or how does this continue to push forward on the strategic plan? Something like that. If we want to, I guess we could. But I think it worked well last time, how she reported out and then offered, if you wanna go into more detail, here's what I have.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wanna, probably my last comment about it, I just think we need to think about our return on investment. You know, what are we bringing back with us for the money that our community spent to send us there, or to take that class, or whatever the case may be. Excuse me, what are we offering, when we get back? What have we learned? You know, what can we apply? Those kinds of things. It's the same thing when, Mike had talked about his work. I get sent to conferences all over the country, and when I get back, I dang sure better have a good reason why, you know, the company invested $5,000 or whatever it was for me to go. So I just think it's equally as important for the community to understand what they're getting for their money.
Yeah, good point.
Could this be something that we add to the, what do we call it, operations
Operating procedures?
procedures? Yeah.
Yeah.
That would clarify. When I attended this leadership conference last year in exotic Lansing, it was obviously much closer to home, and we then had that spoofing threat right on top of it. So returning from that, it was not very clear what the sharing obligations or expectations were, especially as a new member. But I did have some great things I was able to forward internally, and then I actually just re-forwarded it to Justin for, that was a governance conversation about onboarding, and another district that had shared their materials, which was super helpful, that they had organized everything that they had. So again, like having that laid out and that clarity of what the expectation is and how we can set aside time for it at the following meeting or whatnot.
Yeah,
That's great.
absolutely. This is new. We have not had a formalized procedure in the past, and with the operating procedures, it's really given us a lot of opportunities to identify these areas that we need and that are very helpful, and obviously other districts do well, and some would, you know, it's great to be able to look and see how other people are doing it to help us improve. And so this is just one of those things that no, there has not, last year there was not an expectation, and we identified that we would like there to be. So I know only one of you from governance is here, so I don't want to put it all on you.
Yes.
But if that's something that you would like governance to tackle, to put into the operating procedures as an actual document,
Yeah, we
I
can
think that's excellent.
find a good spot for that so that it is more complete and it's not just an afterthought of, oh yeah, that's also something we do. We should have everything included in that document.
Of course. Okay, great. And then additionally, per our policy, you know, we can, either way, we can approve before or after the trip. So something to think about if anybody has any particular, I think it's fine either way, because sometimes it makes better sense to approve before, and sometimes it makes better, because right now, we don't know what the final expenses for this particular instance are, so just wanted to bring that up, yeah. Okay. Excellent. Any other comments? We're off to a great start. Well, the two of you, hope the weather is great in Traverse, and I can't wait to see what you all bring back. All right. Moving into item 7, our summer tax resolution. John, were you presenting or just answering questions?
Was just answering questions, second reading.
Okay then, any questions? All right, would anybody like to make that motion?
Move to approve the summer tax resolution as presented.
Support. Shane, thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B. Motion, thanks Mike.
Move to approve the bond refinance solution as presented.
Support. Ian, thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Unscheduled public
Doesn't
comment.
add into his average. That doesn't factor into his average.
We'll count that one.
Touche.
All right, item 9 are scheduled activities. We have our upcoming board meetings, which, as discussed this evening, will be adjusted. Coming up on Thanksgiving, Wildcat Remembrance Day. Any administrative clarification, Dr. Milligan? No. Any final board comments? Mike?
Yeah, well, I just want to reiterate, I know Jacob mentioned it, and so did actually you, but reiterate just the dedication and diligence of the finance team over here. I know, especially when we're talking about the millage and all of the discussions going on about that, there has been some, I'll say, I guess, narratives that we've been slacking on audits and the current finance team in general, I guess. I want to highlight that a lot are very new. I mean, John's new as well. And so being part of the finance committee, I've seen kind of, in a way behind the curtain too, and just all of the, again, I guess, dedication and diligence that they do and all of the checks that are behind the scenes as well. And is it perfect? I guess no, but it's pretty darn good, as the audit shows, right? And I just wanted to highlight that again. So I appreciate your guys' work.
Thank you. I want to echo that just from last year, looking back, because I was comparing last year's audit with this, and both were great, but you could absolutely tell the growth and dedication, and this year was near perfect, so thank you again. And additionally, I would just like to ask that you all come very prepared on Monday, ready to have all the discussion. I'm very excited for our new facilitator, David, and I spoke with him today. He is very eager to meet with us on Monday, and so any due diligence that you can do prior to that meeting would be appreciated. And thank you again for all committing to that and taking the assessments, and I think it'll be a very productive meeting. So, anybody else? Okay. All right, well, it is 7:40 and this meeting is adjourned.